I'm Aaron. Welcome to the 2011 Urban Cycling Buyer's Guide. I've got a lot to share with you in my three-part buyer's guide about urban cycling, but let me tell you what I'm not going to cover. I'm not going to talk about racing bikes. I'm not going to talk about downhill mountain bikes. What I am going to cover is utilitarian vehicles, bikes that you would use every day of the week, not just for the weekends. Some of the bikes I discuss are going to be available right here in the USA. Others are available only abroad, but I've built a website, chatandbike.com, where we can group together and place an order and combine shipping costs. We're going to discuss the traditional bicycle. We're going to talk about recumbents, which are layback bikes. We're going to discuss adult tricycles. Yes, there is such a thing. And we're going to talk about four-wheel cycles. Now, we'll be talking about specific brands and models of bikes, but I also want to let you know what is so good about different types of bikes, so you can make up your own mind and find a bike that suits you. I've found that the cycles you get at Wal-Mart for $70 are actually a pretty good value, so long as you take the pieces yourself and assemble them. I wouldn't trust a bike that's been assembled at Wal-Mart. Chances are they hurriedly put the cycle together, either didn't tighten the pieces enough, or they over-tighten and strip the threads. Such a cycle wouldn't be fun to ride. If you want, you can basically get the same cycle at a pro bike shop. You'll spend about $300, but at least you know that they took the time to put it together properly. It just depends on what is your time worth to you, and how much fun you might have assembling a bike yourself. In terms of component quality, you'll find whether you pay $70 at Walmart or $300 at a pro bike shop, it's about the same. They're plenty good for weekend adventures, but they're too finicky and too prone to problems if you're going to use it on a daily basis. For that, you really are going to have to spend $800, but I'll get to that in a minute. I've been commuting to work for the past 3 years, 20 miles a day round trip. This is my bike. It is a Kona Smoke cycle. Knowing nothing about cycling at the time, I bit into the hype that I needed a commuter bike from a good brand at a professional bike shop. This one even came with a mystery horn that turned out to be a Sumo Squeaky. I paid $300 for what is essentially a mountain bike with road tires. I could have gotten the same thing at Walmart for $70, but at least I felt confident that it was assembled well and wouldn't give me any trouble. Or so I thought. I quickly suffered a host of problems that made commuting to work less fun than it should have been. For starters, my tire tubes would blow. I'd get a flat roughly every 2 weeks. That required you to stop, take off the tire, take off the wheel, put a new tube on, inflate it up. 30-minute process. On 2 separate occasions, I actually broke my spokes. When that happens, my brakes started grabbing badly and I had to disable the brakes and walk the bike to the final destination. Shifting gears was problematic. Felt like I was constantly fiddling with the tension in the wires or having a pro bike shop do it for me just so I could shift my gears properly. Brakes were constantly out of alignment or needed their pads changed. I found myself constantly fiddling with them, and then when it rained, I didn't feel safe because either they grabbed too little or too much. It was a real pain. The battery-operated lights that the pro bike shop sold me were a joke. I mean, other people could see me, but I couldn't see a thing. The fact that I had to change the batteries was less than perfect. I mean, think about it. With your automobile, do you have to worry about if your batteries are charged to know if you can turn your headlights on? It's bad news. I had to sink money into my Kona Smoke that turned that $300 purchase into a $1,500 one. Had I known from the beginning what kind of parts I needed to make a good bicycle, I would have gladly paid $800 to $1,000 right from the start. Let me give you a rundown of what I had to do to turn my cone of smoke into a dependable commuter vehicle. Tires. I got German Continental tires. These are their traffic model. They look like an off-road tire, but provide a very nice and smooth ride on pavement and gravel. I then got me some Mr. Tuffy tire liners. These are strong sheets of plastic that go between your tubes and your tires. They virtually eliminated my flats. Since I made this change, I only got a flat once when I hit a nail dead on and it pierced right through. This is a very inexpensive tip that all bikers should do. Spokes. I learned that most wheels are spoked by machine. It is a bit of a black art to spoke a wheel. Machines rarely do this well. Expect spokes to break. If you want to avoid this, ask a skilled human to build you a wheel. They know how to apply the right tension to make spoke failures a thing of the past. After both my wheels were completely rebuilt by hand, I never had a spoke failure again. Gears. The exposed gears on 95% of cycles you find in the USA are very finicky. They are called derailleurs. You can see the exposed gears here on my original wheel. The chain has to get bent so that it skips to another gear. This means that most of the time your chain is not in a straight line. It also means that a 24-speed gear system is really more like a 14-speed system because so many gears are duplicated. In theory, this system provides the least amount of weight and resistance so you can ride faster. But their maintenance is too much of a headache. To make matters worse, you have to be moving to switch gears. You cannot switch gears when you have stopped. Very troublesome when you've come roaring down that hill, stop, and now can't switch into low gear. To fix this, you should use an internal gear hub. This means all your speeds are inside the wheel and not exposed. It also means that the chain runs in a straight line and never has to warp in a funny position. Shifting is precise and effortless. You can do it even when you are stopped. Every gear is different, and you only have one set of gears to fiddle with on your handlebars. An 8-speed internal gear hub is more than enough for any bicycle. A 5-speed is what most people need. A 3-speed is great for all but the hilliest of areas and a joy to use. Here you see my 8-speed Sturmey Archer hub. Watch as I shift gears, even though the bike is not in motion. This is true practicality for urban stop-and-go traffic. Brakes. 95% of American cycles have either the V-brake that pinches the metal part of the wheel, called the rim, or they have disc brakes. Disc is better, but both are finicky and produce a lot of brake dust that gets on your clothes. The best brakes are drum brakes that are in the hub. This is what many motorcycles have. It is not exposed to the rain, and the brakes feel the same way all the time. They are strong and durable, meaning the pads virtually never need to be changed. My Sturmey Archer rear hub only has 8 speeds, but it has a drum brake too. Truly robust brakes, no matter the weather, and I rarely have to adjust them. Lights. 95% of American bikes use batteries for the lights. Most of these lights do not even have reflectors. If your batteries are dead, you have no way for people to see you. I want my bike to be like my car. Could you imagine checking or changing the batteries of your car every 2 days to be sure you have headlights? Get real. My Sturmey Archer front hub has a drum brake and an alternator called a Dynamo. This is just like the alternator in your car that charges your automobile's battery as you drive. Now I have electricity anytime I hop on my bike. I purchased German-made Busch Muller lights for the front and rear. These produce enough light to not only be seen, but allow me to see too. They all have built-in reflectors as an additional safety feature. Now my bicycle lighting is as reliable as my car. After all these modifications, my bike became truly dependable. Well, was it comfortable? No. The problem lies in the traditional bicycle geometry, with my body up in the air and my arms coming down. This just can't be changed. I added a Schwinn hornless sofa seat. This doesn't have that part that sticks out and rubs your crotch raw. I also added a seat post with a shock absorber in it. This allows you to hit bumps without jarring your back too much. In the front, I changed my hand grips to Ergon brand ones, with a wider surface area. The straight up posture is good for keeping you tall and seeing over cars, but it is very tiring. Your arms get tired, your palms are sore, even with the Ergons. It's not fun for my commute, but I've toughened up to it. My Kona Smoke is very dependable now. She's not perfect, she's not the most comfortable, but I love her. You gotta see what she does in the night though. Let me show you some footage.